Hi, I'm Bob Sambol. This is my rare conversation with Chris Kahle. Well, this is
Oh,
different.
sure is.
I'm asking questions to a guy who usually asks the questions.
Yes.
But Chris has become a friend, and he's a very, very successful influencer here in town. And I couldn't wait to do this interview. First of all, we're doing it in a golf cart,
We are.
driving around.
We have
We'll
to.
end up at the restaurant later.
Yes, yes.
But this is pretty cool. My wife said we're doing the golf cart. I expected to bring my golf clubs, but I guess I won't need them today. But
We do need to go golfing though.
we do need to go golfing. That's right, with this golf cart.
Yes. Yes.
So the first question I always ask is, at sixth grade career day, what did
Yes.
young Chris Kahle say he wants to be when he grows up?
Okay, well, like tidbit about me, I was a competitive tennis player. So I actually did
Wow.
want to be a professional tennis player.
Okay.
I never thought influencer would be on my career path at 43 years old.
Okay.
But no, I wanted to be a professional tennis player at that time in my life.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was it.
Okay, so that didn't obviously work out, and
No, it
I
didn't.
I
Not
wanted
with
to
my
be a
back pain either.
I wanted to be a pro basketball player. That
Huh?
exactly didn't work out. But so you go to school, you go to college.
Yes. So I went to Merida Valley High School.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I open up about it on TikTok is that I kind of got burnt out playing competitive tennis because I played for the state and for the nation. So I didn't just
Wow.
play, like I was 92-0 in high school.
Wow.
So like high school was kind of
And
like
where was
a
high
joke.
school? Where'd you go?
Merida Valley in Southern California.
Okay.
So I got kind of burnt out. And this story, I mean, kind of resonates with a lot, but I was like, never partied, never had a social life. I played 5 hours a day. My friends were my tennis family.
Mm-hmm.
So like very regiment. And then on the weekends, I would go to tournaments.
Right.
So I really had no life. And then once I was like 16, I started getting into like, oh, this is a high school party. Oh, we're going to go here. And so I kind of was like, I got burnt out and I kind of rebelled because it was after high school. I did not want to leave California. I loved it. Obviously, I had friends there, family, tennis people there. And so when we moved to Florida, I kind of didn't want to go to school. And I had scholarships. And it's kind of a sad story to think about, like, which would have been my life had I have had gone to like a big college where I had opportunities to play tennis. I went the other direction. And I actually ended up kind of like, I didn't take any time off, but I went to community college because I was kind of on a bad path at that time. It was nothing like alcohol or whatever. It was just more about like, I was done with tennis. I did it for so long and I was like, I don't know what like it is to have fun. And
Right.
like, oh, people go out to parties and they do this. So I was experiencing it at a very older age than what kids were in California.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I went to Broward Community College in Florida for business administration. And that was that.
Wow. And so before you took a job, and what were you doing before you became an influencer, or when you started it? What was the job you were doing, and what how did that lead into what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I think what kind of like I've always been competitive being that tennis player. And so I got into retail in Miami and worked my way up quickly, got into management very fast. And then I got promoted to come to Dallas to work at the North Park store.
Of what company?
Nordstrom.
Oh, Northrop.
So it was the top producing Nordstrom. In order to get promoted again, you had to work at North Park or Houston.
Right.
And so I did that, got promoted quickly. And then I was a regional in the area. And after that, I didn't want to move to Seattle or take on a rack store. I was kind of like in the designer world. I was like, I'm not going to manage a rack and live in Minnesota because you had to move again. Met my now husband, Austin. So I was like, I'm staying. Took a job with Michael Kors as opening their store. And then I got recruited to come to open up the first Theory store in Highland Park Village.
Wow.
I said, oh, I would love to work in Highland Park Village. And it was closer. Did that, got promoted. And then I was a regional for Theory, oversaw 15 stores, traveled everywhere at the best locations. And then I decided, okay, you know what? Like, I'm going to take a little bit of a leap of faith. Got introduced to this guy who was doing a retail-based app but basically it was a tech startup. And he's like, you know everyone in retail. How can you use your connections to help me out? And you can work remote, and we think this company's going to go far. You'll have shares, all this stuff. And I was basically their national account exec for him for 2.5 years before doing influencing.
Wow.
But had I not took that leap of faith and kind of left the corporate big world where I was climbing up a cush job, great money, to take a decrease, I would not have done content because I was working remotely. And I was like, what am I doing with my time? So I would like film stuff in the morning, film stuff at night. I wasn't going to an office or traveling as much.
Right.
So that's where I was before.
Wow. So what was the first influencer type thing you did, and what made you do it?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think in the beginning, it was 2024, January, I just made a goal of, okay, I'm going to just see if I can post content every day and see what becomes of it. That's just like a new goal.
Yeah.
And I started on TikTok because I was like kind of too embarrassed to do it on Instagram because I'm like, my family and friends were there, and like, I wasn't like well known in Dallas, but I was like, I don't know if people are going to want to see this. And so I started on TikTok, and I just started experimenting with like trending stuff, funny stuff with Austin. And then the one kind of influencer thing that I did was someone had sent me, I had like 5,000 followers. Someone sent me some non-alcoholic wine I wasn't drinking. And they're like, oh, you can plug it. And I was like, oh, I've got my first like kind of PR package or whatever. And I remember kind of promoting it in my own way. And it was like so bad. I still have the video, but it was like just very fake because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, oh, you've got to try this wine, and we're enjoying it by the fire, and this is what I like. And it was like long-winded. And that's like, kind of one of my first influencer things. But fast forward is when I decided to kind of take a risk and do this funny Dallas video that kind of propelled me into doing this Dallas content to where I am today. And that was July of 2024.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. Everything else was just like fun, trying to grow a couple viral videos, testing the waters and kind of seeing like what stuck in the beginning. Yeah. Is it going to be married life? Is it going to be me doing this type of content? Is it working out? Is it home decor?
Yeah.
And once I did the Dallas video, that is what resonated.
Wow.
And then I kind of said, okay, I'll continue doing some more Dallas things and see what happens.
Well, okay, so I think we need to continue this at the restaurant.
Yes.
Okay, because
it's cold. Let's go to the
it's
restaurant.
cold. It's fun in the golf cart. I'm sorry I didn't bring my clubs. And I got a lot more questions for you.
Okay, let's do it. We'll get a dirty martini too.
Perfect.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we're back for our rare conversation with Chris Kahle, and a little more familiar setting.
Yeah.
Got the pickles, got the bread, and of course we have the dirty martinis.
Yes.
Which have become synonymous with this restaurant and you, and best in town. Thank you for doing that. God, this is so interesting for me. I very seldom want to go question to question, but I've got some really, really good questions to ask you, because in our world, everybody thinks that they're an influencer. Everybody thinks they can go on the internet and people would be interested in what they have to say. So at what point did you say, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. I think people might be interested to hear what I have to say. And I'm not just funny to my husband and to my best friends who don't want to make me feel bad, but I got something here.
Yeah. You know what? Well, first I will say to anyone that's trying to do it, like it takes a while, right? It took me posting 3 times a day, every single day for 6 months before a Dallas video kind of resonated and I got the idea. And I think that happens with a lot of content creators too. So you got to put in the work, you got to keep on trying and see what sticks, but also like what you enjoy doing. And it was a video that I was excited to post, but nervous to post. So I always say people that are doing content, like, take that risk. If I hadn't, and I was like, I'm nervous what people are gonna think, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I think the first video though, to answer your question, or the first feeling was, of course, once people started reaching out to me after just doing my organic content, which took a lot of my time with a full-time job to constantly be going out to eat or exploring different things or doing stuff at home, right? Took a lot of time. Which I wasn't getting paid. once people started DMing me and emailing me and saying like, hey, we want you to, come out. What does this look like? And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay. And I started getting the invites, and people actually wanted to pay me. That's when I thought, okay, could this be something? Could I turn it into something? So that's when I think was the turning point for me was this is fun. It's a hobby. You're getting some views and a little bit of attention on TikTok, not really Instagram at the time. But once people started kind of, getting those inbound emails, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
So you left a pretty stable job to say, guess what? I quit,
Yes.
and I'm going to make a living doing this.
Yes.
That was a tough one, right?
Very, very tough, especially at my age, where I climbed the corporate ladder, had a good 401k, you have your insurance, you have your stability, you're comfortable. And I was pretty senior in the corporate job and role I was in. So to have that connection with the CEO that I could text, and all of that, and then leave for something that's unstable is risky, but you have to bet on yourself. And so that's what I did. I knew once the deals that were coming in were kind of some of them outweighing, what I was making. I was like, if I can kind of continue to really work hard, and then had the sales background and the management background, I was like, okay, I can pitch myself. I can figure out, I've got the creativity. Once I knew that those deals were bigger than some of my paychecks, I was like, okay, I think I can do this and be comfortable. So yes, big risk, but I was smart about it. I didn't say, oh, someone offered me one deal, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. It took a while before I decided to quit cold turkey.
So one of the things that attracted me to your content was that you're always positive. Mm-hmm. And I think if you remember, I called you up and said, and I thanked you on behalf of the restaurant industry, the hospitality business, because a lot of people try to do what you're doing, and they think the quickest way to success is to be controversial, which usually means negative. Mm-hmm. You've never been that guy.
No.
Do you ever feel like, I think I might go a little negative on this one? And what made you stay positive? Because it's different.
It is, and there's a couple things. Like once too, I started getting recognized. That was also a turning point. I don't want to leave that out. Like when the first person recognized me and wanted to take a photo with me, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is interesting. People are paying attention. So that was definitely caught me off guard. But I think when people come up to you and say, I like your content and it really made me laugh and it brings joy to my day, those are the type of things that I take in and I'm like, okay, if I can bring a little bit of joy in a minute, 30-second video, no one knows what people are dealing with. There's depression, things that happen throughout the day, and if that is a little release for someone for a minute, I don't want to take that away. It makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. And also I think when I first started, I did the Dallas ins and outs, I did Dallas Chuggy, which is kind of mid in the Gen Z world today. That's what that means. But it was in a fun, playful way. So I think there's ways to still be authentic and honest, because I think people do want to see that, because they think, oh, influencers going to tell me whatever, they're just selling me. And they scroll. There's a tasteful way to do it, and that's how I've always done it. Not every single restaurant or every single place I'm in love with, this is the best, but there's a way to do it. I might say, hey, you know what? Everything was great. The steak might have need a little bit more seasoning, or wasn't to my liking. We all have different taste buds, but that doesn't mean that it takes away from the restaurant, right? So there's a way to do it and position it. And also with the negative thing, I always have been the same person on camera as I am in real life. And I think to your point, there's a lot of creators that I've met that are doing the shock value, and that's fake to me and inauthentic. And at the end of the day too, it's to do the rage bait and the clickbait for that long, then you want to turn it off, and you've got a family and you've got all these views and maybe you've got stuff, and then it's like, oh, but you're not this person, and you change your content and people are like, well, who is that? And there's a couple people that in Dallas, without naming names, that like actually built a following because they did certain type of content and then boom, switched it, and it was just not who they were anymore. So I never wanted to be fake for views because that just wasn't who I was.
So you try to be positive. So have you ever gone into a place and said, I don't think I'm going to air this one. This wasn't great.
Yes.
Okay.
There definitely have been a lot of those. I think if someone approaches me and wants to work with me, one thing I'm doing that's different, and actually someone thanked me the other day, was going in and meeting with them first, or I go and have a meal there. Or maybe I've already had a meal there. And I'm like, oh, I love like this, would love to do it. But if I haven't heard of them and it's like kind of odd and the concept's weird, I think going in and just, you know, having a meal, seeing, and then saying, you know what, like, would love to do it, love your concept, this is very interesting, or it's really not on brand, or it's not to my liking, before just saying yes with something that you don't like. So someone had reached out to me and I was like, hey, you know, let me come meet you, let me actually check out the space and see if this is something where I would be, if this makes sense for me. And they really appreciate it because they're like, there's so many other influencers that were just like, oh yeah, we'll do it, da-da-da. And like, they're like, you were the only one that actually, you know, came in, kind of wanted to check it out before you said yes or wanted to work with us. But yes, there's a lot of them that I haven't aired that I haven't.
Well, you know, in the old days, when my old days were when I opened Bob's in 1993, it was the Dallas Morning News. The food critic was a lady by the name of Waltrina Stovall. And Waltrina was a chain-smoking older lady who you were petrified when she came in. And so I'll never forget when she finally came into Bob's, I knew she was going to, I knew it was always in the Friday newspaper. And so you get a call from the newspaper saying they want to come in and take some pictures because there's a review, and they won't tell you, and usually the photographer has no idea.
Yeah.
So I was at the 7-Eleven on on Lemon at 5 in the morning waiting for the newspapers to be delivered to see what we got. And we got 3 stars, which wasn't bad, wasn't great, and I just breathed a sigh of relief that we didn't get 2 stars and she would have ripped me or whatever. So now, every day, the first thing I get when I get up is, because I'm part of this service, which gets all the public reviews of my restaurants. And they go from, oh my God, the greatest ever, to the worst, I'll never go back. I mean, it's like, how does this happen? And you get rated, and Yelp and Google they don't even have to have come to your restaurant.
Yeah.
They can be the boyfriend of a waitress who's mad that they broke up. It could be, you know, someone who doesn't like me, just someone who's just bored. But Open Table is where they have had to make a reservation. So you kind of look at the Open Table reviews a little more, with a lot more emphasis that, hey, this really happened.
Right.
And they're a little more truthful. They're a little more, you know, explanatory. And you appreciate that. But it's hard as an operator not to overreact because it hurts your feelings. You're here busting your ass every night. Your employees are busting your ass. And someone comes in and tries to hurt you. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like, you know, if that guy's an accountant, how'd you like me to come to your work and scrutinize the last tax return you did and say, you see, you made a mistake. You cost that guy $600, you know? I mean, everybody would hate that. But in the restaurant business, it's part of our life now.
Right.
So influencers are part of our life. And you're very positive. You try and be entertaining. And I think a lot of the other ones try to be sensational. and they end up talking about things they should never talk about, or they use language they shouldn't use, whatever. But you kind of fit in. And when I talk to my fellow restaurateurs, they like your work, and they think that it's a benefit for our industry. So when you go into a restaurant and you like the food and service, is there anything else that kind of bugs you, or you always kind of look at besides that?
It's a great question, and I almost want to piggyback on a little bit what you were saying before too about the reviews, because as influencers, the same thing. You're going to get the hate comments. You're going to get the people that completely disagree with you. So do you just stop and stop what you're doing? And I've always thought, like, you can't let one person take you down, like the one bad review. Like, it shouldn't be like, if you enjoy, you believe in what you're doing, even the person that's reviewing, even though you want their approval, it's like, your worth and what you've built and what you bring to the table, and other people that you're impacting that love Bob's and your team. And I feel the same way doing influence, and I'm not going to let that one hater or whoever, the negative person that disagrees with me, to make me overreact or stop what I'm doing. And I think there's a way where I think it's different when people give you constructive criticism, because sometimes it could be like, what if I am doing something with food and I mispronounce it? Like, maybe I should not do that. But then sometimes it makes me authentic and real, because I always say, like, I'm not, a food reviewer, a food critic by any means. I don't claim to be. So some people maybe think that's funny. But sometimes there's constructive feedback that I'll be like, oh, I never looked at it that way, that I take to improve upon. Versus, someone bashing me. But I get that a lot as well, and you're putting your face out there every single day, and so you want to react. But I don't. That's the best way, is just let them go, or let them, is my new philosophy. One thing that I look at besides the food or something that bugs me, I think coming from retail, and that's the other reason I'm not clickbait or being super negative, is that Ransor's been in customer service since Nordstrom to Theory. Even working for the tech startup, we represented the brands, but we weren't in stores. So I know what it's like for people in the retail industry. It's very, very, very tough, right? And people that gave the worst service and whatever, and people are running business. So I never want to take anyone down, because I know what people are going through in Dallas and as business owners, so it's tough. But I think coming from retail, I always look at how long it takes for someone to greet me when I go into a restaurant.
It's a proven fact that people judge a restaurant first couple minutes they're there.
Yes, and the same goes, and I taught that with my employees, at these retail brands that I worked for. It's like, you want to greet within 30 seconds, and each brand has their own thing, but it doesn't feel good to walk in and not be acknowledged. You're already kind of like, all right, let's see what else happens, So that is something too. But listen, sometimes it's busy. I'm not gonna oh my God, I'm never gonna eat here again. I understand that too. People are short-staffed. I've been short-staffed where it's we didn't get that client. But a first impression is everything. So when it takes a long time to greet or don't acknowledge, especially if I'm right there and they're not busy, which that has happened before, that definitely bugs me. Another thing that bugs me too, because I come from retail, is when people try and upsell you at restaurants. Now listen, we would do that at the brands that I worked for. I get it. But you have to listen to the customer. If she's coming in, he or she, for a pair of black pants, you're not recommending the $4,000 fur coat right off the bat. And I've seen people that do that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, So it's if you're listening, I'm like, I really want a good pasta, and you're like, we got this lobster and steak. It's I get it, totally get it, and there's a way to do it too, but that's another thing too, because I know it from retail, from customer service.
I always joke around.
I'm like, you're trying to get me the most expensive thing on the menu. Got it.
I always joke around with our servers. I said, we don't upsell here. We suggest sometimes, but it's like the server that says, the customer will say, I like a tossed salad. Would you like a lobster tail on top of that? I mean, it's just stupid. It sounds dumb.
Yeah.
And it gets annoying after a while.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What a lot of people in our business don't realize that customers are watching what's going on at other tables too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if they see their server spending a lot of time talking about their dog to that table, they're wondering, hey, where's my salad?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And she's talking about Rover, who's been sick lately, you know? It's just, it's just like when you have a complaint in our business, I always tell our managers, be careful how you act at the table because everybody in the dining room is watching you.
Correct.
So you got to be careful. Don't let that customer kind of bait you into getting angry.
Yep.
When we have a great night and me and the managers are talking, the tendency is to talk about the few tables that didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
And what I always say to them is, okay, we took care of those tables, right? Let's talk about the 112 tables that went well, okay? Let's stop talking about the 2 that we messed up.
Yeah.
Okay? It's our fault, their fault, makes no difference.
Yep.
We did our best. We apologized. We took care of what we needed to in the check. Let's move on. Let's be positive.
Yep.
So getting back to that, you're positive. I will say that you should be proud of yourself because whenever you're in the restaurant, people are happy to see you. They genuinely, oh my God, there he is. And they come over and you greet them, you take a picture with them, you talk to them. So keep doing that because that never gets old.
No.
Being a nice guy never gets old. Don't be that negative guy.
Yep.
You're in a city that is just restaurant central.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just, so.
Eat, drink, and shop.
That's right. Right. We have no ocean. We have no mountains. We have no casinos. We eat, drink, and shop.
Yep.
What do you think that the good restaurants, well, I know what the good restaurants have in common, but where do you think this is all headed? I mean, you see all these new restaurants open, you say to yourself, how are they all doing business? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know where it's headed. There's always going to be fallout. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a third of the restaurants are going to be great, a third are going to be okay, and a third are just going to keep rotating.
Right.
When you see lists of the 10 best new restaurants or this and that, in 5 years, 70% of them are closed.
Correct.
So we're always trying to. But what do you like about it? What are some of the things that you've seen that you really, wow, this is cool because you travel and this and that? Because I'm pretty proud of our restaurant community.
No, here's what I think about Dallas and the restaurant scene. I have mixed views because I think right now, especially in kind of what I'm doing, I'm on both sides of the coin. There's a lot of people that will comment, and I won't say the name, like a new restaurant's coming, and a lot of people like, we're giving so much attention to these new restaurants that are not, from Dallas, and we need to focus on the Dallas restaurants, which I agree and disagree, because there's also a lot of, one, creates new jobs, it's good for the economy, people are coming to Dallas, there's new hotels that are coming that are really exciting. I think that helps everyone in the long run, in my opinion, but also I think there's a lot of different restaurants with culture and different food that we don't have in Dallas that are coming, and gives other people opportunity to try different food and a different experience. And I think that's great for the industry as well. I think also it will be competition, but it's like when a new retail store opened up in Highland Park Village and we're not the shiny new object anymore, we didn't look at it as competition. It's like, okay, what are they doing with their visuals? How does their team look? How is their team dressing? When we would go and walk the competition and be that secret shopper and like, how did they greet? Ooh, I like that they did this. Oh, they gave us champagne. So we would learn from that. Mm-hmm. I think it creates healthy competition. Like, maybe we should try that, or I took away something when I went to that restaurant, right? And that you can take away and bring back to your business. So I think there's good things there. But to your point, what I'm seeing the trend of, it's almost becoming like in LA or even in Miami, where it's like these hot new restaurants come that aren't from Dallas. And we're giving them a lot of attention, and then I feel like it dies down in 2 or 3 months. And so that worries me, because it kind of worries like, okay, well, if that's the trend, I'm not saying all, how many more restaurants want to come here like that? So that is a concern, because people see the shiny new object, and then it's like they're done in 2-3 months. So I think when it's in, and I hate to say it in Dallas, if a restaurant's in a good area that where people are not going to drive too far, you know, and it's not too flashy to where it's just like, it's gorgeous, but it's like everyone's going there for a celebration. I kind of get it. I've heard this feedback just from like people that follow me. Like, we want to have a nice casual dinner. We don't want to be with everyone that's, you know, drove from wherever to celebrate their anniversary and it's a birthday party and this, and they're not real like consistent clients, and it becomes one of those restaurants where some of the over the top restaurant concepts that end up becoming that, and people kind of fade away. So I always say, like, if you have consistent service, consistent food, I mean, listen, again, you can be in, doesn't have to be in the best area, but what I mean by that is like, some people sometimes love the glitz and glam, and then they're like, I'm not going to go down and drive over to this part of town. And it's like true feedback that I've gotten. I'm not saying that personally, but some people like will continue to go because it's convenient for them as the city's growing and there's traffic and stuff. Sometimes that does make an impact, but if you're consistent and it's good service and it's good food, and I also think having a Dallas like manager, someone told me this, and someone from the team, so you can bring your like LA or Vegas or Miami restaurant, but you might need to be hiring the Dallas manager, someone that gets the Dallas customer. And I think that's why people sometimes fail. They're doing stuff that worked in Miami, New York, or LA, and like, yes, all the celebrities go, whatever, but they don't have like Dallas people on their team, and they end up failing. And I've seen it time and time again, to where it's like, you know, they need someone from Dallas that kind of knows the market and knows, you know, how the clientele is here.
So with all these new restaurants opening, just so you know, me, Javier, Dick and Sam's, Albernays, we've had our best years ever. Mm-hmm. So the more restaurants just to what you're saying, the more new restaurants come, the busier we all get.
Yeah.
Because we're Dallas restaurants.
Right.
My wife and I were in Chicago having dinner with some Chicago restaurateurs,
mm-hmm.
and they were thinking of coming to Dallas. And then they had dinner at Nick and Sam's and Albernays and Bob's, and they said, you know what? Maybe we'll pass. Because I think they realized this is a tough one.
Yeah.
We'll go some other city where it might be a little easier.
Yeah.
Because they recognize that. Okay. My last question before I get to what I call rapid fire
mm-hmm.
is, everybody thinks you got the coolest job in the world. I mean, so what do most people misunderstand about what you do?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, one, going full time. It is unstable, right? If something, I mean, it's just any business owner, but like, you're in 1 minute and you're out, you know, the next. So that can definitely happen. There's also cancel culture. I truly think about that a lot. One mishap, and I think people run to you when you're on the internet and you're putting your face out there every single day. So that is something that, you know, if you sit there and like overthink about it, it can consume you. Also, you are putting your life out there. You are putting your face out there every single day. So it may look like, oh, I'm going to restaurants or doing this. But there is sometimes hate in the beginning, that there was messages and weird things, and, you know, people want to take you down. And so that's not the fun part, right? Like, that's not all glitz and glam. But at the same time, like, you constantly putting yourself out there to be scrutinized. I think people, if you don't have thick skin, that is, you know, a tough part of the job. I also think, to your point with restaurants and just any business, it is staying ahead. So now that I'm doing full time, it's like, okay, what I did last year might not work this year. Right. And there's some concepts, but you have to evolve. And me being a business owner with retail, there was something that stuck with me. It was a little dramatic, but it was an old company. It was like, the theme for the year was change or die. But basically meaning like, okay, we have to evolve, try things new. You know, we can't have the same type of cash registers, right, that you have at this time and like people are doing curbside pickup, people are doing buy online pickup in store, and you had to do that too to keep up with the times. Same with influencing. There's a lot of pressure, I think, for me with the creativity of, okay, how are you going to make, you know, this feel different from all the other creators in Dallas that are also doing the same thing, that are also going to the same places as like a city creator? What are you going to do that's going to stand out differently, you know, to make people want to continue to watch you and follow you and not do what you did last year? So I think there's a lot of competition with just creators in general. There's always going to be, you know, another Chris, not always want to say that, but like a version of something where it's, oh, who is this person, you know, that moves here or whatever, and people resonate, and that's great. Again, healthy competition, but it's that pressure to continue to evolve and be creative and like, what's the new content? And that's why it's like I'm trying stuff with the golf cart. I'm trying stuff with Austin, and I'm always also testing stuff here and there to see what kind of sticks. And so I think that's always like the hard part. It's like, okay, you do a cooking, you know, you got a lot of followers from doing your cooking and everyone loves it. But there's a time and place where like, okay, what more is there to that? Like people want to see the real you, and maybe, you know, you want to let them into your lives a little bit more because you've got all the recipes and like you're ready to move on. So it's like you got to keep it fresh and different.
Well, I think the thing that's going to keep you current is credibility. Mm-hmm. Once the public believes in what you're doing and what you're saying, because you're not making it up, you're not being bought, you're being honest and truthful about that review and about that, whether it's compliment or criticism, and they go there and go, Chris was right. This was good, and that was okay.
Yeah.
So credibility will create longevity for you. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of the influencers are going for, that big hit. They got to do that sensational deal. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is called rapid fire.
Okay.
We've got a few questions, and then usually it's a quick 1 or 2 word answer.
Yep.
Okay. The first one is coffee meetings or late dinners?
Okay, coffee meetings. You would think late dinners, but sometimes I meet with people, I don't want to be at dinner with them for too long. So let's get it over.
Okay, film on the fly or plan the shot?
Film on the fly has always been my mentality. Okay. When it's too planned, too scripted, it just doesn't work.
Okay, neighborhood spots or big name restaurants?
Neighborhood spots. Neighborhood spots.
Thank God. First thing you notice when you walk in a restaurant?
Again, how long it takes for them to greet me.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Also, cleanliness and appearance. And I don't mean like how someone looks. I think it's more of the, like, if there's a uniform, you know, how are they wearing it? Mm-hmm. How is it put together? And of course, just because I'm just so used to it from retail. We had to like walk in every day and audit our stores, and everything needs to be clean. And so now I look at that when I go into retail stores or other business.
Well, the employees, if you're the leader, if you're the boss, the employees represent you. Yep. So if his shirt is dirty, your shirt is dirty. Okay, it's just it's so simple. Why'd you let that guy work with that shirt on? Why'd you let her work with her hair like that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yes.
Gin or vodka? I know this one. Gin or vodka?
Vodka. Belvedere.
Vodka. Belvedere. Okay.
Belvedere, to be specific.
Shaken or stirred?
Shaken.
Okay. I know the answer to this one too. Olive or twist?
Olive.
Okay.
Of course.
All right. Here's a good one. Loud bar or quiet corner?
Okay. I don't know if you'd be surprised, but loud bar. Here's why. So I'm Sagittarius. Not saying like I live on the edge, but like more of an extrovert. And I don't know, I love the energy.
The energy, right.
I love the energy. Like
everybody does.
I thrive off of it, especially when I go to a new city or I'm in New York. It's just like, I love it. And I feel good. And I feel more energetic and talkative and talking to people, and you have conversations. And like, I like to talk to people and meet new people, and it's fun for me.
Yeah.
So
It's energy. It's
louder.
energy in any
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had a long talk and a rare conversation with Ray Washburn, Highland Park Village. And I said, when you get out of your car, you feel like, oh, I'm at Highland Park Village. I'm feeling good today, you know?
Yep.
And you go buy a $900 sport coat. And when you get home, you go, why did I buy that $900 sport coat? But you got taken in by the atmosphere and
Right.
the energy of Highland Park and the beautiful pots and the landscaping
Right.
and the pavement and how they do everything. So it's like that in a restaurant. It's really important.
It's that feeling and energy that
Yeah,
you get.
yeah. Well, listen, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
You know, like I said, I'm an admirer because you're great for our business, and you do a great job, and you're sincere, and and I see how the public reacts to you, and I admire that. Okay, you worked for it. I'm proud of you. You should keep it up. You're on the right track. The public loves you, and they have a smile on their face when they see you. And what more could you ask for?
Yeah, I'm honored.
All right,
flattered.
before we shake hands,
We got a toast.
we got a toast.
to the iconic Dirty Martini.
That's right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's good. God, I've been looking at that ever since we started.
So good.
Thank you.
All right.
I really
Thank you, Bob.
appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much.